Hello and welcome to Fantasy View with me, Jason Hubbard. Here I review fantasy novels to let you know what to read if it catches your fancy, and I let you know about the books I wrote myself. I've realized that I've never reviewed the kind of urban fantasy story about some secret war that's been going on right in our very streets, a struggle between the forces of good and evil. Well, I'll fix that right now with Water's Blood by Elaine Calloway, which was recommended to me by someone on Goodreads.com. Water's Blood, a kind of weird title that makes you wonder if water really has blood, or if someone's blood is water, is in the same vein as Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the Mortal Instruments series. You could say it's suitable for young adults, but the majority of the characters are fully grown, and the book tackles some very mature themes. Right at the very start, it seems like the author was well aware that the premise of her story was unoriginal, and that many of her readers would already have read similar stories. That's why she begins with a kind of race against time, in which our main character, Brooke, leaves her work at a tavern because she magically senses that her daughter is about to do something unfortunate. The daughter, Ella, has opened a cabinet that's supposed to be locked, and she retrieves a chalice that, if she drinks from it, will change her very nature. That's because her mother is an elemental, a special being that has a certain control over a particular element, in Brooke's case, water. Brooke doesn't want her daughter to do something she might regret later, so she rushes to the house. But the funny thing is that she doesn't really do anything other than observe her daughter getting the chalice. She doesn't bang on a window or the door or anything of the sort. She instead waits for Ella's father, Alex, to wake up and stop Ella himself. It sounds really weird, but at least there's an explanation for it. Brooke, as I said, is an elemental who was created by God to do his work on Earth. Oops, actually he's not called God, he's called Universe. A funny name since he's named after a pretty damn big thing. It's up to Brooke to fight and keep in check the fallen angels who had once fought Universe with Lucifer, only to be banished from heaven. The fallen angels, excluding Lucifer, now roam the earth, reaping the souls of sinners, and it's up to elementals to stop them. Brooke is stationed in New Orleans, but her position there is precarious since she had once broken a big rule that Universe had established. She fell in love with a human and had a child by him. So even though she's an elemental, she's still kind of human and has all the working parts thereof. Universe decided to be lenient enough to allow her to stay in New Orleans, where she can keep tabs on her daughter and boyfriend. But there's a catch. Her daughter cannot be allowed to know about her mother, or even about the struggle between the elementals and the fallen angels, until she turns 16, because plot convenience. Ella's father, Alex, is fully aware of what Brooke is and how their daughter is a half-elemental who cannot know about her mother and all that business about good versus evil. So all this time, he's been raising her as a single father on a cop salary. As you can tell, the mythos is quite a balancing act. Brooke has to worry about her daughter, the fallen angels in town who want to reap souls, and the tavern she owns and has to keep open so that she can keep the lights on and provide a convincing cover for her citizenship in the city. While I can respect this kind of balancing act, sometimes it makes me scratch my head. For instance, in order to keep Ella's burgeoning water powers a secret and to protect her from any fallen angels, Alex has Ella scolded home and forbids her from leaving her neighborhood block. I mean, can you imagine spending your entire life in just a relatively tiny strip of land? Not even just to go to the park, or the woods, or Walt Disney World, or Chuck E. Cheese? Seems a little unreal to me. There's also the fact that a fallen angel named Soren had just been elected to the city council right under Brooke's nose. I mean, she should have prevented that from happening somehow, but she didn't. She only just learned about it from Mercury, a kind of elf who acts as a messenger between Universe and the elementals. It begs the question, how could a fallen angel who's said to be hiding in the shadows suddenly run a campaign for public office without either Brooke or Mercury knowing? Or Universe, for that matter. At any rate, Soren having that kind of influence is a problem, so the nation's other 3 elementals are brought to New Orleans to find him and banish him from the city. So just think of them as the X-Men, people with superpowers that they can't use lest they give away their true identities or some shit. And there are personality conflicts with amusing results. Things get complicated when Ella strays from her house and hooks up with Dominic, a fallen angel who looks about her age. Dominic takes her to Soren, who plans to coerce her to the dark side, like he's Darth Vader or something. It's up to Dominic to make her warm up to him, so that she'll eventually use her elemental powers for the sake of the fallen angels. So all the elementals have to do is find Soren, where they can corner him and do what they do to fallen angels, right? Well, that's another funny thing. Soren is essentially a public figure, so he shouldn't be hard to find. The author seems to know this, so she says that he doesn't do news interviews or anything. Therefore, the elementals can figure out that he's holed up in a hotel somewhere. But the dude apparently has to go to City Hall to do business, so the elementals can just find him and track him from there, right? Oh, but that would be too easy. The elementals instead just wander the streets of the French Quarter and keep an eye out for him. Worst trackers ever. Brooke can talk to water spirits to help find Soren, and her buddy Tempest can talk to birds, but not even those things help them out much. They spend much of their time just dragging their feet instead of using their heads. Of course, there's also the matter of Ella, who's right in the middle of enemy territory and doesn't even know it. Her father can contact her on her cell phone, and he even manages to bring her home one time. But Ella is understandably feeling rebellious. She hates being cooped up all the time, and her father refuses to explain why exactly she can't be as free as she wants to be. It's interesting drama, I suppose, since Alex comes across as pig-headed since he phrases his non-explanations in a very authoritarian way, which won't work on a teenager. There's one part I want to talk about that might be considered a spoiler, so be warned. Brooke and Alex are summoned to a crime scene to identify, or not, the body of a young girl. It turns out it's not Ella as they feared, but they do recognize her as Ella's best friend. At this point, Brooke and Alex know that Ella is with the fallen angels, only Ella stubbornly refuses to reveal her exact location. So I thought, okay, Alex can call her or just text her to say that her friend was found dead, so she better come on home right now because priorities. I know that sounds a little messed up, but it would at least get Ella home safe, and it wouldn't be as if Alex was lying. But do Alex and Brooke do that? Nope, they just go home and have sex. I guess there's something about seeing the body of a dead girl that gets them horny. Now, I know that sex is often used as a way of relieving stress, and seeing the body of someone you know would be stressful. But this could be viewed as disrespecting the dead, especially since they crack jokes while they're doing it. Maybe I'm being too judgmental, or maybe these characters have a poor sense of timing. And so that was Water's Blood, which I guess was named after the character Ella. After checking out some paranormal romance, it was nice to pick up something with more suspense. The mythos, which is somewhat based on Judeo-Christianity, is intriguing and has plenty of potential. Even so, I got the feeling that some things just didn't add up, and there are a few things that seem to come right out of the blue, such as an end battle that occurs in a public place, and our heroes use their powers even though they're not supposed to in front of ordinary people. At least the characterization is interesting and amusing, so the story is good for that much. And I like how the author effectively uses a show and don't tell approach, which I know at least one of my own books could have used more of. And if you read this book and like it, there are at least 3 sequels you can dig into. I also like how the story takes place in a unique city like New Orleans, with its so-called shotgun-style houses and ivy growing everywhere. The author shows both the good and bad side of the city, the latter of which includes the transparent corruption of city officials, which the author incorporates into the story as a kind of social commentary, I'm sure. A story like this usually takes place in New York City, so I think it's cool that the author decided to break away from the norm for this one. I'm Jason Hubbard. Thanks for listening to Fantasy View, and please, keep reading.